What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing good. So today I'm gonna do something a little bit different, something more technical for a change. We can't always be riding. We have to be maintaining the bike as well. So I've been tinkering for the last couple of days. I installed new brake pads, new rear wheel bearings. There's a new tire on there, and so generally the bike is in really good condition as I maintain her very well. But there is something that has been bothering me that I read about recently and realized that other people were experiencing it, and I wanted to start addressing this issue, and I thought I would just share because it's something that I think could be harmful to the bike if not handled over time. I don't think it affects everyone, but there's an easy way to check. And so I'm just going to go through the process now, and I'll talk you guys through kind of what I have in mind to fix it. Basically, the problem is characterized by popping on deceleration. So when you accelerate and you shut the throttle, you have the popping and banging, which some of that is normal, I guess, especially when you have an aftermarket exhaust. Like I do. But when it's really consistently loud and little non-stop little explosions, then it could point towards the fact that air is somehow getting into the carb on deceleration. So when I'm riding this bike, I'm constantly having these very loud pops and bangs on deceleration. I've seen one explanation for why it happens, and I have fixed that, and it continued to happen, although it stopped for a little while. And I think it's all making sense as to why. So I'm going to go ahead now and take the tank off, and then show you guys what I'm talking about. So now, taking the tank off, as you see, you remove the fuel tap, and now, usually, underneath your seat, here, there should be a little metal, I don't know how to describe it, brace or something, that you would use to prop up the tank. Right, so you would lift the tank like this, and then you'd put those the metal thing in there. So I'm just using a piece of wood because I don't have that thing. Right, so hoses are off. Okay, so I've just been able to tug the fuel line from the tank, and so now I should be able to take the tank off. If you are working with a full fuel tank, you don't want to keep this thing in the sun, because it will get hot and funny things will happen. So what I want to demonstrate is the connection or the seal that the Airbox makes with the carburettor. So I'm going to take these off. Now we're going to take the Airbox screws off. Okay, so the screws holding the Airbox are off, and now I'm going to try to demonstrate what the issue is. Now, the Airbox connects to the carb, to both carbs, via this pipe here, this intake pipe. I guess that's the right word for it. And the intake pipe has a clamp. The problem is with age, tightening that clamp does not secure the Airbox onto the carb. And as you will see now, the ease at which I can pop this off, look at that. It is not making a seal at all. The Airbox is not sealing where these two clamps are meant to be sealing onto the carburettor. When you tighten it and it starts to bite, it just slips over the carb inlet here. And what I think is happening is because the fit is so loose, there is air getting in there, and that is what is causing my pops and bangs. And when you think about riding in a dusty climate like I do, you don't really want the dust getting into the carb, getting into the engine. So first of all, what is the first thing I looked at? I will blend in the video by Mr. Masterakos, who does really good video content for maintenance of the Africa Twin.
This video, my friends, I'm going to show you how to eliminate exhaust popping on deceleration.
He describes the reason for the pops and bangs on deceleration are these two vacuum hoses that sit on either side of the carb. And when these vacuum hoses get old and porous, then they draw in air on deceleration. So I went ahead and I changed both those hoses, and I instantly noticed the pops and bangs were gone, which was fantastic. But then they came back within a day or two of riding. And so my theory is my hoses were actually okay, because when I did take them off, I examined them and they were in good condition. And when the pops and bangs stopped, I assumed they had some tiny holes that I couldn't see. But when the pops and bangs came back, it must be that when I took the Airbox off to change those two vacuum hoses, and I put the Airbox back on, I would have made a good seal here. But then after riding for a day or two and the Airbox vibrates out of place, that's when it starts taking air in again, and that's why the pops and bangs resumed. Hey there, little girl. Come on. Hello there. All right, must get back to business. So my theory is that not having a good seal around here is taking in air and leading to the same outcome of popping and banging on deceleration. And I ride in a pretty dusty climate. I mean, you can see how much dust there is on this bike, and I just don't like the idea that there is dust and microscopic particles getting in there. So I need to create a solution. And I found someone else talking about this problem and how someone had made for him a kind of a riser that goes around this, a ring, which allows the airbox seal or the airbox clamp to have a better seal. And so that's what that's what this video is about. So as you can see, when this sits in there, it instantly creates a much taller surface area for the clamp of the airbox hose to bite on, to grip on. So this is a bit of a loose fit, and so I'm gonna adjust the dimensions for the 3D print, but this is already starting to look really good. Would you guys believe that while doing all this fiddling around with this airbox, I've just realized, look at this. Look at this massive opening. Holy moly. What's the purpose of a filter up here if you're taking in dust all the way, all through on the side? Wow. What's up, people? It's a brand new day and I'm looking to complete the job that I set out to do a couple of days ago. So just to recap, because I have learned more about this situation. So here's what I think is going on. So this airbox, specifically these softer rubberized pipes, have shrunken over time. They've shrunk, and therefore it has receded away from the carb where it sits on the carb. It has kind of gotten smaller in all dimensions. So where it came up to there, right, half a centimeter or something, I think this thing has shrunk from the heat and just from the material. And so that is why it just doesn't wrap around this entire flange anymore. And so the whole purpose of what I've been doing is to, and here is my finished product. So basically this needs to sit there to increase the surface area for the airbox clamp to bite on. As you can see, this has a nice snug fit. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the inside right there. So it will sit and make a really good seal. And for the glue, so the gentleman who sent me the 3D printing dimensions of which I've used, he recommended cyanoacrylate or something like that, which effectively is fancy term for super glue. Effectively, I want something with a high temperature resistance. So this says up to 120 degrees. So this should be okay. Right, so I want to degrease these so that that super glue just sits perfectly. So this is going to be, I think, very okay in terms of being exposed to petrol and also heat. So nylon will resist really high temperatures, so I'm not worried about this material being suitable for this application. I mean, ultimately, this is not moving. It's not a moving part. It's I'm relatively relaxed about putting this into the carbs, and I will obviously check them every now and then. I think this is a worthwhile upgrade. Also, remember how I found this this giant gash. So I have a rubber glue, which I think will be sufficient. Yeah, I think that is enough. There. And now for the next one. I think that's good. Now, to maintain that pressure, I'm just going to pull this down and apply pressure this way. All right, so that will cure there in the sun. And let's look at these other parts. This should be really firmly glued in place by now. I don't see this moving anywhere. I'm just going to install these back onto the bike. And only tomorrow, once that has cured properly, will I reinstall the airbox. Nice. Check this out. I'm loving it. And now my airbox will sit properly and make a good seal. Morning, people. So it's the third day in a row and I'm about to put this all back together. My front wheel I took to a specialist to have a look to see if it was bent, because I noticed a wobble, but I always thought it was a tire. And when I took it to the shop yesterday, the guy instantly also thought it was a tire. So hopefully that's what it is. And if not, then he will true the wheel. Right. Have to be careful with this tape. So there is my seal with my special rubber glue. That looks like a good seal, almost like a weld. I think this is good. This is good to go. Okay, so the airbox goes on first. And this is the big moment. Yep, that is seated right onto the carb inlet. I felt it kind of click in. And if you remember, when I took this airbox off, it just came off. Look at this, look at the amount of resistance. This thing is seating properly now. Nice. So I'm using this bottom of a ratchet to just push the hose over the over that collar. Clip is absolutely tight and holding on, and that is not going anywhere. And now for the clip on this side. Haha, box is going nowhere. Okay. Okay, everything's back together. Of course, I still need to put my air filter, which is drying over there. She runs. Nice. Okay. Right, I'm gonna go pack my suitcase because I have a flight to catch. And before I go to the airport, I'm gonna get the wheel, put it back on, and then I can clean all this up because the missus is starting to get a little bit iffy about all these bikes here. Thanks for watching, guys.